Hello, Eckhart.
Hello.
It's really weird to hear myself like this.
Yes.
Greetings from Finnish Lapland.
What?
Greetings from Finnish Lapland.
You are from Lapland?
Yeah.
That's
In
the
Finland.
north of Finland?
Yeah. 175 kilometers above the Arctic Circle.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And greetings from my children. They're 6 and 3, and they wanted me to give greetings to that nice uncle that Mum is always listening to.
Thank you.
So I have 2 kids, and I work full time. And well, I mean, everybody here, I guess, knows, you know, it's just constantly things are being required from me, and at work and at home, and several things at the same time, and you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read you my questions so that I can get exactly what I asked you on earlier. So my question is, how can I nurture the tender, fragile sprouts of consciousness in me when my busy life situation constantly overwhelms me and makes me forget to stop and notice the now?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Do you live in a city or a small town, or?
Well, it's something in between. I live in a small village, which in the wintertime becomes a big city. It's a skiing center.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
But there's plenty of nature, and that's...
Yes. Well, that can be helpful, nature, but you have to pay a little bit of attention to it. Then otherwise you get too absorbed in the doing, ultimately in your mind. So if you can find little spaces in your mind in between the thinking, because that's the origin of being lost, or it's really start with being lost in your mind, that tells you, now I need to do this and this, what do I need to do next, and what do I need to think about now, and what about this, and I've done that yet. I recommend, whatever I say now, by the way, implies that you need to remember that there's a possibility at any given moment of being present with what you do. You don't need to stop doing to be present. It can be helpful to, for example, to practice some form of meditation. By the way, that might be a good thing for you, even if it's only 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. Some form of structured meditation. That's not the ultimate answer, because then there's the rest of your life. So I have known some very good meditators who were only good while they were meditating. However, meditation can be a helpful addition to your presence practice, and so at some point you could set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day, either very early in the morning before everybody else wakes up, or late at night, in the evening, or any other time that is convenient during the day, when you switch off the phone, choose a time when you are less likely to be disturbed, or tell people not to disturb you. That may not work with very young children, but or choose late at night, and practice some kind of structured meditation, whatever it is, Buddhist meditation, TM, whatever it is, any body awareness. As you know, I don't have techniques as such, but there's the body awareness that can help you to be present as you just sit for 10 minutes during that time in body awareness, feeling the entire inner body. eyes closed or eyes open even. You can feel the body and look at one of the trees that you have. You have lots of trees there, the same as in Canada here. When I look out of my window, I see mostly trees from the living room, and it's wonderful. So sit and feel the inner body, or whatever the technique is, if you have a technique. So that's one thing that I highly recommend, but it's not enough. Then you have to bring presence. Well, two things. One is there is the possibility of bringing little gaps into the doing, which are really not gaps in the doing, they're really gaps in the stream of mind. But you need to remember to do that. Now, you mentioned in your question you forget. So you may need little reminders in various places in your house. You have to change them occasionally because you get used to them and you don't see them anymore. Little reminders, whatever it may be, it'll come to you, a little arrow, sticker, Eckhart's face. Whatever reminds you of presence, or you can have an eagle, a picture of an eagle, because the eagle eyes are just amazing, the enormous vigilance that comes through the. Or an owl. What about an owl? That any of that can be a pointer to presence. Look at the wow. Or some abstract symbol. Different symbols in different rooms. So whenever you wash your hands, where the soap is, you see breath, and you wash your hands consciously, not as a means to an end, aware of every moment. If you have anything you do regularly, like making tea or coffee, while you're engaged in filling the kettle and putting the tea or the coffee in the mug, do it consciously, which means not a means to an end, but you need another little sign on the teapot or wherever, in various places, so that you remember it's possible even in the busiest life you can bring in moments of presence. So these are really little gaps, but the gaps don't interrupt the doing. They interrupt the mind stream that's behind the doing, and that's more important. You don't need to interrupt the doing necessarily. It's possible too, you can do that too. But the most important thing is to interrupt the mind stream that's behind the doing, so that while you do, you can be absolutely present in the doing. It's a wonderful practice. And one important thing again is you may observe that whenever you're engaged, when you're losing yourself in doing, you always want to arrive at the next moment. You're never fully in the doing. Your attention isn't fully in what you do. Your attention is already on the next thing, or where you want to get to through the doing. It's a very subtle thing, but you can observe it in yourself, of always. So I'm trying to act out here a mental state. So you are here, but your attention wants to be there. And then there's a reaching out, but never quite, because it's always the next moment that matters more. Every doing becomes a means to an end. You might recognize that. Always a means to an end. And then you can, as a little, so what I'm saying is introduce spiritual practices into the doing. You can see if you can limited areas of your doing at first. Say if you can not make it a means to an end, but an end in itself. For example, going to the, I don't know if you walk or drive to the store to buy food.
Both.
Yeah. So if you walk or you drive to the store to find food, usually your mind is already there or somewhere where you should be, it's even more important than this, or instead that journey you can use as a means of being present in the doing rather than treating it as a means to an end. So you're walking one step at a time. You're not losing any time here. You're still walking the same speed as before. So the mind has no excuses and say, I have no time for this. Choose certain activities that are repetitive, and as a conscious choice, make it a habit to treat them as almost as meditations. So you are not going to lose your efficiency in the doing, but if you transform what's behind the doing. All you need to do is that I can't help you with, is to remember to do it.
Can't you come home to us and like remind me every now and
Yes,
then?
I can visit you. I'll visit you, probably not in the winter time, but in the summer.
In the summertime there's mosquitoes, so...
Oh, mosquitoes. Well, we'll have to surrender to something, always. And of course there's the daytime lasts a long time there. It's maybe just daylight for a couple of months. You have mostly daylight. It's well, it's would be a wonderful experience.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. So I cannot, remembering that you can do this, that I can't tell you how to accept little practical advice as little reminders in various places. You can also, of course you can be creative and find ways for yourself, but you can also bring in small stops in the doing. For example, I often recommend to people who often get into their car, when you get into the car, you close the door, pause for 20 to 30 seconds before you do anything, and then you start the engine. Pause for 20 to, it's not, nobody can tell me that they don't have, maybe in an emergency situation when you have to take someone to hospital, don't do it. But at all other times, you can't tell me that you don't have 20 to 30 seconds to pause. It can be a vital thing. You pause and you're just, but without, not by suppressing the inner urge to start the engine. No, but by just enjoying that moment and feeling the entire inner body. So a good reminder can be the noise of the door closing of the car, as they had many years ago when I lived in England. At the time when they introduced the wearing of seat belts, in order to teach people to wear seat belts, the advertising agency came up with its slogan, which said, clunk, click, every trip. Clunk is the door of the car, click is the seat belt. Clunk, click, every trip. So it's to associate the noise of the door with doing the click. And here I'm saying, clunk and be. So these little gaps, and then find out for yourself where else you can introduce these little gaps that really you're still just as efficient as you were before. In fact, you'll be more efficient. Make a little list to see where you can introduce these tiny gaps where you stop. So I've suggested several approaches without telling you that you should stop having a busy life. I'm not saying that. Don't stop having, you can have a busy life, but bring presence into the busyness. That's the secret. All you have to do is remember to do it. There are many ways of doing it. But if you forget that you can do it, then there's nothing we can do. So devise little reminders, visual things, and then do some creative thinking by being present first, and then thinking of how you can do that. It's wonderful. Daily life then as a spiritual practice. Daily life becomes a spiritual practice. Surrender while you clean something. You clean the bathtub without any mental commentary. Remember the chopping wood, carrying water, the famous Zen saying. A lot of what you do at home will be of that kind. Chopping wood, carrying water. The daily activities, they are all chopping wood, carrying water. Why is that such a significant Zen saying? What's the big deal with chopping wood and carrying water? The big deal with chopping wood and carrying water is the consciousness behind the chopping of the wood and carrying the water, which is the consciousness of absolute presence in every movement and every step, of not commenting mentally or complaining or making it into a means to an end. It's the absolute, the preciousness of whatever you do when there's presence behind what you do, rather than demanding, I don't want to chop more wood. I've chopped wood yesterday and the day before. Don't want to chop any more wood. I'm fed up with chopping wood. Am I going to have to chop wood for the next 20 years of my life here? I want to do something else. And carrying water, can't they have running water in this monastery? Other monasteries have running water. I don't want to be doing that. My back is hurting and I can't, blah, 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 blah. But instead, nothing, just do the next thing that needs doing. Now this. One thing at a time. Another definition of Zen, as you may know, defined by a famous Zen master. What is the secret of Zen? He said, doing one thing at a time. Is that it? Yes. Oh.
Yeah, obviously, was it a mother?
Even the mother can do one thing at a time. In fact, she cannot do more than one thing at a time, but her mind can be elsewhere. Well, I wish you a happy practice, and if I visit Finland, we'll keep in touch, and I can't promise, of course, but I may visit you, but by then you won't need me anymore, I'm sure.
Thank you.